Hi felters and welcome. Today we are going to do cow in a cup. Let's get started. What you are going to need, so a teacup, and I did this sheep, so you can do any sort of animal, you can adapt it to all sorts of things. So this is the cup we're going to use today, and I've already done the base and just felted it loosely. Going to need a pipe cleaner, some green carded. I have self-carded that myself with a couple of colours to give it a nice effect. That's the carpet bit, the grassy bit. Then we're going to need a tops coat and a base coat for the Highland cow, and that's it, and a cup of tea. So first off, I loosely felted, just use some core wool. This is the base of it, just fill it up. And this is a wool I just wanted to get rid of, so you can use any colour wool. And I loosely felted it, squished it in and see if it looked right. And then I carded together, this was I think actually 3 colours of green. And I'll put the carding video at the carding video at the end of this if you want to know how to do it. So I just took a big multi-needle tool and we'll just loosely start to felt it onto the top. So I've got quite a bit there, and then go onto the single needle and just poke it in all around the edges. And then the clover tool helped quite a lot just to get it down a little bit more. And then we're going to go over all of it and smooth it and make it a nice smooth surface. So just get it neat. Take a single needle, this is just a 38 triangular, and we'll smooth it all over. There we go, all done. So next onto the framework, and it's a very small animal that we're going to be putting on top of this. So yes, get ready for being very careful with the needle. So I took a pipe cleaner and we're going to do a front leg and arch over to the other front leg, and then this is going to be the backbone, because this Highland cow is going to be sitting down like that sheep was as well. But you could do it standing up, so you just do 2 back legs, but I quite like the effect of him sitting down. I have a PDF of quite a large Highland cow in my Etsy shop, and he's sitting down one. He's quite popular and I sell an awful lot of them. So there's 2 front legs and a backbone. So we're going to wrap the frame. I'm just using the actual sort of colour for the legs. You could use core, but it's not a large amount. So I'm wrapping around the middle bit just to sort of secure that area first and make it stronger, because these pipe cleaners aren't really that strong. And just felt it in. It doesn't need much felting here. And then we're going to go all the way down the backbone, and you're just going to build it up layer upon layer. It's probably easier to do it layer upon layer rather than one big piece, because then you can control it and stop it from falling off the end. So I wrap it again, secure it, just needs a quick little felt there, and again, and then one more I do sort of further down at the base to make the base of it a little bit bigger. Keep going, keep going. You don't want it falling right off the bottom though. So there we go. And now we're going to do the hind quarters. So you don't need actual back legs, you just have slightly bigger hind quarters area, because his legs would be underneath him. So you just wrap it around into a little sort of very small button, and then just felt that onto the edge. And it'll just sort of represent his hind quarters sticking out a bit. So there's one side on at the bottom there, and then do exactly the same on the other side. There we go. And then we're going to wrap the front legs, which this is all about getting things nice and thin. It's good practice. So get a very small strand, attach it at the top, And then we're going to wrap it around really quite tight, quite close to the pipe cleaner. And I go down to the bottom and then just a tiny bit, not really over at the bottom, but enough there that you can sort of cover the white, and then back up. You could use a brown pipe cleaner. That would probably be a bit better. Wrap it round and round and round, nice and tight, and then secure it on. And then to get the bottom bit, you just felt upwards, but you have to be really careful. Mind your fingers. That'll give you a nice little foot. So there's one leg, cover the other leg. There we go. So he's not too bad. The shape is starting to form. Just have a quick check. That's how he's going to look. He's not too big. And we're going to give him a little bit of a neck, just because if I put his head on now, it would look a little bit low. So you could have just wrapped around through the chest area, but I just add a little neck bit and secure it on either side. I really have tried to cut this video down. I know it's still a good 17 minutes, but I can't cut too much more out because you'd miss parts. So there we go, there's a little bit of a neck put on there. And the head. So take a bigger piece and then just start rolling it really, really tightly. It really saves you so much time if you can roll things tightly. And you've got to, I'm not giving you measurements because it depends on the size of your cup or your mug or whatever you're doing. Or you could put it in a bowl or a sugar bowl. So you've got to check as you go along that the head looks about the right size. Here we are, a little close up. So it's just a long, it's almost like a rugby ball shape, and then round off one end. And then I do felt it a little bit, even though this is absolutely tiny, sort of quite small work. But we're going to, I took a finer needle and I did smooth it over a bit because we're going to put the teeny weeny nose on the end here. Honestly, this is getting so small. It's not really me to do small things, but this sold straight away at my craft fair the other day. So I think it's a good little one to do if you're looking at selling items. And there we go. So take a tiny bit of a lighter colour, wrap it in on itself, and then I sometimes just put it on the mat and try and pull it in so that I'm not hurting my fingers. And I have got the fine needle, but be careful because this is where the fine needle breaks if you start to pull the wool with it. And then hold it on the end and felt it in as best you can, and then try and neaten up the edges. There we go, so that's neatened up a little bit. And two teeny weeny nostrils. You can barely see the amount that you take, and then roll it in your fingers. And then I would definitely have the fine needle here as well. So my fine needle is a 40 or 42 triangular, I think. Actually, I think it's a really fine one. And there we go. And if one of them's too big, just felt it a bit more and it'll sort of disappear in a bit and look smaller. So we're going to attach the head, so just felt all through the base of the head, all the way around, just to keep it on there. And the back of it you can felt in quite a bit because it's going to be covered with ears. And then we're going to use the scarf technique of taking a tiny amount of wool and just wrapping it around, and this is all going to be covered by the coat, so it doesn't have to look neat, but it does have to be secure. So go all the way round and spend a couple of minutes just securing it. And there he is, looking all a bit silly at the moment. So we're going to do a pair of ears, and again the slither that I had, I sort of split in half again, and it's a very small amount. So just felt that bit that you folded over, turn two of the edges in a bit, and you have literally got the ear shape already. Pull it off your mat, and look, there it is, and you're just going to neaten it up now. So spend a bit of time just neatening it up a little bit, even though, you know, these are really small. And then they're going to be folded in half and put on the back like that. So do another ear, and we have two. So fold them in half and just felt through so that they stay folded up. And then I like to have mine pointing a bit more downwards because the horns will go on top, but you could have yours pointing forwards. And then all that fluffy bit that you had left from the end of the ear helps you attach it, so neaten it up and pop that on. It's all fiddly work. There we go. So next we're going to do the horns. So take a pipe cleaner, check the length that you want it to be. You want it to be quite long so you can bend the ends a bit. And then I have literally a very thin piece of the white. This is just any carded wool, white carded wool. And you wrap it really tightly, and I go from the middle out, which I've told you all before, it's just easier to control how much you have at the end. See, I've got too much here, and I'm just pulling it off, and even then I know I've got too much there. If I was to wrap it, I'm going to have a big thick end bit, so I pulled a little bit more off, and then you wrap really tightly, and then start felting it through. So I did secure it halfway along so it stayed really tight and then carried on going up. So we do lots of rolling, and I've got the fine needle at 45 degrees. That really helps. There's a little close up, and the end bit, try not to fold it over. I nearly folded it over there. Try to just felt it in on itself, and that will give you an end. If you fold over, you end up with a lump, and that's not ideal. If you're doing a big pair of horns, that's kind of all right, but this would really show. And then just work your way and then do the other side. And always have a little trim with scissors. It's not cheating. It's the best way to get all those little tiny bits. And we're going to work out where we're going to want them, and then take the colour of the coat to help you attach it. So we felt either side of the wire to begin with, because that just holds it in place, and then you have a little check, make sure the horns are even, and then you really start felting it all through and tidying it all up. They look too big right now, but when his coat is on, they will look in proportion. So this is a merino, it's antique merino from World of Wool, and I'm going to cut it in half so I get more out of it, because it's quite long, the one that I've got, so I could use both bits. So don't worry about that cut end, because we're going to be trimming it anyway. So I face that cut end down just because it's quite big and thick and bulky, and I go around the top of the hips first, is sort of the first place. I start from the bottom up and go all the way around, and you're going to go around the front. So felt halfway through and then fold down, and then because he is so tiny, it really sticks up, so felt it flatter a bit as well, felt the top, and then you might even have to do a few pokes like that to keep it pointing down. And then this is where we get the scissors, and it's really important, the trimming, and you can get a really lovely effect with good trimming. So I'm trimming upwards at an angle. Now you don't have to, just get it a little bit neat here, a little bit how you want it. Don't panic too much, because we can do trimming at the end. And I just check that the length was good for the teacup. And then I go round under the tummy. So felt through. It can get a bit awkward, but just move his legs out of the way. You can move them back. And then again with the trimming. And then round the back. And then, so we're doing one layer. So like I always say, it's like a little skirt. It's like he's wearing a silly little skirt, but that's the best way to describe it. So that's the first layer, and then we're going to do another layer about, with him, no more than a half an inch, maybe a quarter of an inch, and you work your way around that level and trimming, and then the next level. And so the last bit we're going to do is the forelock going forwards and over the top. So I'm just taking one cut half section, and the back bit of it where I've cut it with the scissors, I'm going to merge into the coat, and the rest of it I'm going to just, it's all going to be forwards over the forelock and nose, but I'm going to felt one line just there, you can see it right behind the horns. So it is a very neat finish, so it's fantastic. And then merge in the back bit so it looks like it's part of the coat with a bit of trimming, and then we're going to trim on the nose and then do a bit more felting and trimming, and you can watch as I fiddle and faff around. I just have to say, things in teacups, they have been around quite a bit, but the first place I saw them was Needle Felting for Beginners book by Ros Dace and Judy Bouchin. It's a fantastic book. I'll link the book review at the end and you guys can have a look, and they do a pincushion world in a teacup and it's absolutely beautiful. But there are so many things you could do in a teacup, and it's a really sweet gift for somebody. So just sort of do a little bit of trimming and felting down, and really that's it. So we've got to attach him onto the teacup. Look, I just faff around for ages with the coat. So you've got to attach to the base, so hold him on. I wouldn't recommend gluing him, but you probably could. You could glue all around the base, but I prefer to felt him. So I lift his coat and a lot of firm felting all the way around the base, and then a tiny bit through the feet. And this is a lot of firm felting, and I just check he's secure by picking him up, but the teacup is so light. So this is a really easy way of just doing a little something in a teacup. And as I said, he sold at my craft fair very quickly. The sheep didn't. I didn't quite do the sheep coat as well as I could have done. So I hope you've enjoyed that. The next video I'm going to do is the moon gazing hare from Little Blue Artworks. So do subscribe if you want to see that. And any comments or questions, put them down below. But thanks for watching everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.